Welcome to Ocean Stories, a podcast hosted by me, Lydia Carey,
and me, Sarah Hersping. We may not be marine experts or even professional scuba divers, but we are curious about the ocean and ways to protect it.
Every week, we chat with conservationists, researchers, business owners, and anyone else with an ocean story to tell.
So whether you're a scientist or someone who's simply curious about the big blue, you're in the right spot. We can't save the seas alone,
but we can do it together. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of Ocean Stories. We've got a really good episode for you today.
Woohoo! We managed to find a mermaid. Woohoo! Everyone always tells us, well, you can't be a mermaid, and we were like, give us 2 seconds, we'll find one. And we found a proper real-life mermaid who is saving the seas and mermaiding.
For real, we did. Everyone that played mermaids in their childhood, everyone that's obsessed with feeling like mermaid, this episode is for you.
How do you play mermaid? I swear I've never played mermaid in my life. I don't think we've
that
ever
really
played
shocks
mermaid.
me. That shocks me. I still play mermaid with my friends when we go swimming. So what it is when you're a little kid and you go to the pool, everyone gets in the pool. It's usually all girls. Men are welcome too, but it's usually women. And you ask each other, what color is your tail? And you say, mine's purple mixed with green. Or you say, mine's purple with pink polka dots or whatever. And then there's always one girl that has to one-up everyone else and be like, mine has sparkles on it. And then someone has to one-up her and be like, mine has special superpowers. Whenever you touch it, you can shoot rainbows from your eyes or something like that. Or mine changes colors and mine's camouflage. I don't know. All I really remember from the game is how annoying it was when someone would just break the rules of describing what your tail looked like and they would just make up their own like magic powers. But that's how you play mermaids, and then you swim around.
That is
Isn't
so
it fun?
funny. Do you swim with like a mermaid kick, like dolphin style?
Yes, of course. You swim with a whale kick, dolphin butterfly stroke kick, and you
That's so
also
exhausting.
sing and talk to each other underwater and try to hear what each other is saying. No,
I
for
feel
real,
like I've
this was
done
like
that
the most
part.
fun game. It's
Yeah,
just like it's the equivalent of playing fairies
I have never
outside. Did you
played
ever play
fairy.
that? Oh my, Sarah. I cannot believe it.
I feel like we played other stuff. I mean, I played all these imaginary games, but it was never fairy or mermaid. Or maybe I'm just like fully forgetting that part.
Like, what was your number one game that you did?
We had this game, it was an underwater game, and it was a tea party but underwater. So you would like bring your cup of tea and then you would have to hold your breath and have something heavy, and then you would like sit down and have a tea party underwater. And just like I just remember a lot of like crazy jumping from stuff and trying to do flips and trying to do backflips and all this crazy stuff, but I've just never played mermaid. Or like underwater catch. I don't know, it was all very wild. Maybe I was socialized with too many boys and they didn't want to play mermaid.
I mean, could be, but all I know is next time I see you, we're playing mermaid. I mean, we talk about that in the episode a little bit. Something I love we talk about is how adults need to get back to their childhood roots of like playing imagination and experiencing magic and just hanging out and talking
I'm
about what
down.
color is your tail.
I'm down. Let's
So
do
Sarah,
it.
what color is your mermaid tail?
My mermaid tail is a combination of all pastel colors, like a pastel pink with some blue and some green. I honestly, my entire room is in pastel, and I have this like weird lighthouse decoration thing, and I think my mermaid tail would be that in a tail. What would your tail be?
Well, right now I think my tail would be like sea green, turquoise, mixed, illuminescent vibe.
Wow, well, that's very classy.
Yeah.
Mermaid.
Yeah, just classic mermaid. That's all.
Love. Well, today's guest, she has a bunch of different mermaid tails, and her full-time job
She can change color.
Yeah, she even has a glowing one. We will learn more about this later in this episode. So whatever imaginary tale we come up with here, it's not gonna be as cool as hers anyways. So let's introduce her. Lydia, tell us a little
Let's
bit
get
more about
into it.
today's guest.
I will. Our guest today is Elle Jimenez, but she is better known online as Mermaid Elle. Woo! We're so excited. Elle
Woo!
is a full-time professional mermaid and underwater performer. It's her career, and she's been at it since 2016. Elle is originally from Puerto Rico, and she travels all over to give magical underwater performances at all sorts of different types of events. She has over 3.5 million social media followers that she shares the message of ocean conservation with. She really uses her Mermaid Elle character to advocate, especially among children, for ocean awareness, marine life, facts, environmental education, and uses her platform for good. Today, we talk with her about all sorts of really fun topics, like how she first ended up getting into the water when she didn't necessarily come from that background, how she learned how to be a mermaid, how she trains new mermaids, and everything that goes into the entrepreneurship of her brand of being Mermaid Elle. So it's a really fun conversation, and we are really excited to get into it.
Yeah, and I feel like one thing I really took away from this is she keeps saying, if I can be a mermaid, then you can be anything. So I feel like this episode is for all the dreamers out there. Everything is possible.
For all the dreamers, I love it. One
Let's
little
bring her
small note
on.
is in
Oh,
this little small note.
no.
In this episode, we talk about the magic behind the mermaid. So if you have any children in the room, maybe listen to this one because we go beneath the surface to find out the mechanics of mermaidism.
Welcome, Elle, everyone. We're so excited to have you on the podcast and
Shalom.
cannot wait to chat with you. Where in the world are you right now?
I am in Miami. I'm actually inside my mermaid room with all of my mermaid things, and this is actually also my studio for my YouTube series. So very comfortable and ready for talking all things mermaid and ocean, of course.
Well, we absolutely love your professional background. It looks like we're in the ocean right now.
That's
Very
the
impressed.
point.
Love.
I am a
Amazing.
little bit fangirling right now. I'm so excited to ask you questions. What I really want to know is how did this all happen? How did you end up right now in Miami in your mermaid room, your professional mermaid room? How did you find out about this career?
Honestly, I have a very, I feel like, unconventional way that I got into this because I never really thought that I would end up a mermaid. Never ever, or even swimming or even diving. I actually was very terrified of swimming when I was growing up. So it has become just this huge transition in my life that kind of like fell on my lap. I was a dancer 7, 8 years ago. I've always been a dancer and I've worked with so many different like artists as background dancer, music videos, and different celebrities. And then I opened up my own entertainment company here in Miami. I got asked to be a mermaid, and I was like, I said no at first because I was like, I don't know how to swim. And then I just kept seeing this like request for mermaids for entertainment. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it a try. My friends kind of convinced me, actually, they peer pressured me into doing it. And I was like, let me just get swimming lessons. And I got scuba certified. I found out that I was terrified of the ocean. And that was something that I felt like, because I'm a performer, I needed to connect with the ocean to kind of know how to play this character, how to be a good mermaid. And I needed to lose my fear for the ocean. So scuba diving really changed my life back then. And now I'm a professional diver, free diver. I'm a PADI pro. I perform at aquariums. I do swimming shows. And I had no idea it was going to come to this point. It's still very shocking to me, even after almost 8 years later. So yeah, it's kind of crazy.
That is kind of crazy, but I absolutely love it. And I love that you overcame your fear because, especially in this podcast, a lot of people come on and they're like, oh, yeah, I was obsessed with the ocean ever since I came out of the womb, pretty much. And I was never terrified. And I just jumped into the ocean with sharks. And I'm like, I need
Yes.
some encouragement because that's not me at all. So I just love to hear stories where people actually learned more about the ocean, got more comfortable, overcame their fears, and now you're literally a mermaid. So
Yeah, it's
anything is
crazy.
possible.
Anything is possible. I always say that to everyone in my life. If I can be a mermaid, you can really be anything. I'm a full-time mermaid, so that means that I work events and shows and I do performances. I'm a performer first, and then I'm a content creator. So I create content for travel and brands and for my fishies because I have a nice pot of fishies that follows me around the world. And I have my YouTube series called Saving the Seas. So I always knew, like from the beginning, that I couldn't just do this mermaid thing and falling in love with the ocean. That first experience, scuba diving, and continuously like presenting myself with this beautiful underwater environment. I always knew that I needed some purpose into my mermaid performances. It's not just like sitting there and being cute um, and just making dreams come true, which I do love that aspect of my work, but it's also just representing the ocean because like mermaids are such a symbol for our oceans and magic. And I kind of decided from the very beginning that this was going to have some sort of ocean conservation angle. Um, and it developed into these kids shows and a little bit more educational as the years went by. And I feel like now I'm fully blooming into the mermaid that I wanted to always be, which is mermaid superhero who loves saving the seas. So it's been just, I know, I love it. I love what I do and I love the little ones and I love to see the impact that it creates. Um, it's just been wonderful. I have zero, like, I mean, obviously everything's hard in some sort of way. I feel like what I do is hard before performing. Like putting on the tail is hard and it's heavy and it's painful and my body hurts afterwards. But right in the middle, when I'm performing and or where I'm filming my episodes, it's like just pure magic. And I love to see the impact that it creates.
I love that too. I have a little sister actually. Shout out to my sister. She's 8 years old and or about to be 8 years old. And before this, we were watching some of your content, and I love to hear that before you weren't initially an ocean person, and now
Mhm.
you're a huge advocate for the sea animals, trying to spread that information. I want to talk about when you first started diving and swimming, what drew you to the ocean? What made you think,
Mhm.
okay, I need to figure out a way to make this work?
Yeah. I always had that fear of like what's underneath the surface. And I feel like the more I was under the surface, I found that there was nothing to fear. It felt more like peace. It felt like this beautiful calm and harmony where like the rest of the world is kind of chaotic. Down there, it's just so peaceful. And I think a lot of divers relate to that, or like it's just this beautiful underwater world that is magical. It takes you to a whole other, more like a different mindset, kind of resets you when you go back to land. You know, you kind of like feel refreshed and also very much like open-minded. But to me, honestly, like it's like the world but flipped upside down. Like you got trees down there, you got plants, you got animals, and a lot of people don't know any of it. And I always thought you always fear what you don't know. So it's good for you to get to know that. That's why I do all the educational stuff. It's because I want people to know so that they can maybe pique some interest in them for them to experience the ocean for themselves, like I did. Because I feel like if I wasn't thrown into this, I probably would have never, ever done it willingly. It was just kind of like, you know what? If I'm signing up for this, like I'm the type of person, like if I'm doing something it's all or nothing. I got to do it really, really well. Otherwise, I'm not doing it. So I felt like I needed to throw myself into the ocean, and I don't regret it. I think it changed my life. I remember diving through these reefs, and I was like at the very bottom, with my scuba diving with my crew, and just looking at the surface so far away, and just like that the light rays and everything was just so beautiful, like a painting, and I fell in love with it. And I was like, this, and also seeing the impact that humans have created on our oceans. The more I dive, the more I see it. So it has become kind of like just a passion.
I absolutely love what you just said. First of all, people fear what they don't know. And then the more you expose yourself to it and the more you realize, okay, nothing has actually happened to me and this is how these animals
Mm-hmm.
are behaving, the more peaceful it gets. And it feels kind of powerful to overcome your fear and then just be calm and enjoy it and just know that you're safe. Yeah, and it is such a unique escape, just like you said. You can bring your phone underwater. You can't hear any of the distraction that the world throws at you. You really are just you and yourself underwater. So yeah.
I feel like it should be an experience that everybody should experience at some point, like they should
Totally.
see the ocean, because I feel like I grew up on an island. I'm from Puerto Rico. I was born and raised there, and um, we go to the beach, but you don't go too deep. And so I feel like people are just so scared of the depths and like what's under there. So yeah, the more you submerge, the more you see, and the more you kind of you realize that we're not the biggest thing on this planet. Really, it's down there. It's like all the most beautiful things you could find. So
Some people
for
might not realize how much actually goes into what you do. From following you, I've seen that it's actually a skill to be able to know how to swim like that. Can you talk about what
Mhm.
goes into your job and what goes into being a professional mermaid? In case I want to switch careers, in case the podcast doesn't work out. No, I'm just kidding.
I think I I think that although it's so beautiful, I do want to say like the flip side is so hard. I mean, it's using your whole body. You have to be somewhat athletic to use your body that much. The dolphin kick, the movements that I do as a mermaid are is using your entire body. So I feel like physically it's hard. Everything's heavy, and so you do have to be physically like strong a little bit. I do have my Aquaman that helps me in everything that I do. He's the muscle, but really there's a lot of weight to the tail, to the tops, and being underwater as well with all of that on is so difficult. Um, Holding your breath. I think that that's um, something that requires so much training. I would not recommend this to anybody who hasn't had like a good swimming experience. Like I took swimming lessons because I didn't know how to swim, so I do know the the process of going from zero to hero. Like literally, it took me months, if not years, um, probably years to just fully feel comfortable in the water, hold my breath for a while where like it's enjoyable, I can perform. Um, and it's also like not just the physical hardships, but also the finances. You have to invest so much in these costumes. My costume, like from 5 grand to 10 grand. I just feel like it's a huge investment. So it's not something that you can just easily hop on. It does take some process and respect, like I remember when I said no the first time. The reason I said no was because I respect that. I respect the water, the ocean, and anybody who can manage themselves in the water. And also, like building a brand, I feel like where I'm at in my life, it took way more than what you would think. like it took consistency and building a business, because that's what it really is. I came into it like it's a job. So it was just always some sort of like, okay, this is my business. This is how I put food on my table. I have a little one, so this is how I take care of my little one. And I make my sand dollars, and and I build this brand. This is not an easy job physically, and just building it into what I have today. Yeah, it's crazy. It takes a lot.
So I'm kind of curious. You said you were approached to become a mermaid. What was your first job, and what do your performances look like? Do you do it in front of a huge audience or at birthday parties, or where do you perform? And what are all the different parts of your job?
Yeah. So my first mermaid gig was actually a kids party. I think that's very common. Because I was already doing Moana at the time, Elsa. I was doing princess parties as well. I was down here trying to just be a performer. That's the dream. That's the dream that I had, my entire life, is to get paid to perform and dance, and just through performing arts. And it was a kids party. And what I had decided was, because here in Miami, the mermaids that were at the time that I've seen at events, because I was in the event industry already, were just sitting by the pool. They were not swimming. So I was like, this is a great opportunity to, show something different. And, almost 8 years ago, it wasn't popular at all to talk about professional mermaids like it is today. And I feel like I've seen that evolution. But yeah, at that time, I was like, maybe I'll do a swimming show. And so I started creating like these choreographies, and it involved more than just the interactions, which I love the interactions. It's fully acting. You have to know what your character you're playing is, and have to know how to improvise. I've performed in front of huge audiences, and also very, very small. And I think that the smaller the group, the more pressure it is, because it's more intimate. They ask the hardest questions. They feel free to ask all the questions. And so yeah, in performance, it's mostly the interactions with the little ones or adults. If I'm doing a corporate event, which honestly, like I was doing that one last night, and I was just talking about this, how adults are just like kids inside, kids that are just locked inside. And when they see me as a mermaid, they're like, their inner child is just so happy. So those interactions are important. The swimming shows, and just having like a nice aquatic performance in the water, not just swimming like a mermaid, but I float, I do turns, I do flips, I do splashes, I do bubble tricks. Those are the ones that kind of like make it more of a mermaid experience. And then also the storytelling and these interactions that allow me to be more educational about our oceans, about Mermaid Elle and her job in the ocean, which is saving the seas. She earned her crown from doing a great job at protecting the oceans and sharing her love for the oceans with humans. So having those conversations and being able to bring in the conservation narrative to my performances is also a huge part. So I think I always said it's three things. It's the conservation aspect, it's the aquatic aspect, and it's the, more like non-physical, like live stuff, like content and making videos. I'm like one octopus, and I have so many arms. And each one is just so different from your typical job or your typical thing that you do every day. So it is very unique.
I think it must have such an impact on especially the kids that you interact with. Well, you already said that it's kind of the same for grown-ups actually, but if you are a huge mermaid fan as a little kid, and then a mermaid actually comes and visits you at your birthday party or an event or wherever you are, and you bring the aspect of conservation into that. Like, you're the mermaid and you got your crown because you saved the oceans. I feel like that must have a big impact on kids and motivate them to do the same, because it's like their biggest idol is doing it, so you kind of want to follow those
Mm-hmm.
steps. So yeah, I think that's absolutely amazing.
I mean, I
um
hope so. I hope that it inspires them. I truly have so much faith in children being our future. They're our future adults, they're our future generations. And if I can be some sort of inspiration for them to be better humans now and later, then maybe the world could be a better place. And to me, like, I've always been super close to nature, just love nature so much. And if we're not taking care of our nature, then who are we? Because we are such a huge part of it. And we're the voices. We can actually voice out these issues that we have in our planet, in our ocean's health. So for me, it's like, I love to see the impact that that creates. I'm curious to see how it continues to spread and continue to make waves with my series, my episodes. I'm working on a book for children, but not like a kid book. It's more like kind of like a fun comic type of comic book. Because Mermaid Elle, she's a superhero. The villain is like plastic pollution. There's this, entity that she has to fight off. So I think that I hope that it inspires the little ones, and I hope that they see it as a fun thing, not too far away from their reality, because I know that being a mermaid, it's so magical. It takes them away from, this reality, but to be able to apply those things, like, next time you see trash on the beach, make sure you pick it up, and you can participate in beach cleanups, and buy local, and sustainability, and all these words that they probably have never heard before. I feel like maybe that's creating some sort of impact. So I hope so. That's my biggest dream, is to just see people doing better things and taking care of our nature.
Can you talk a little bit more about your hashtag Saving the Seas family friendly series and what it's been like to create them and how the reception has been?
When I started mermaiding, I knew that I needed some sort of purpose, so I created that character, Mermaid Elle. And I feel like as the more I performed, the more I realized, oh my gosh, I need to go in depth, because the little ones are asking me so many hard questions. I need to be able to answer everything, where she's from, like what I eat, and what my job is, who my dad is, my mom. Like, they ask so how I go to the bathroom. There's so many questions that kids ask that I have to be prepared. And so I had to create this backstory. It was something that I really didn't think that I was going to do in my life. I'm like creating this backstory. I went to film school, so like, and I did my thesis in screenwriting. So to me, it was like, what? I'm creating this whole character. And I knew that she needed to have something to do with conservation. And so Saving the Seas, it was more like an initiative for my business to have more depth and be connected with action. I feel like inaction is just as bad as, making bad choices. So I needed to have some sort of action in my business. And so I started donating a percentage of my profits to an ocean conservation organization every year. This year, I'm supporting Coral Restoration Foundation in the Keys. They do great work. I've seen it for myself with the coral trees. And right now, in the past few months, we had this mass bleaching event, and they have been working so hard at restoring the corals. And so they're my nonprofit this year. So I donate a percentage of like what I make from my shows and merch, and just anything, any profit that I can make as Mermaid Elle, I donate towards ocean conservation, because without the ocean, I wouldn't be here right now, like literally, from my experience and how it all happened. So then Yeah, it's just a matter of solidifying this character and making her come to life. So Mermaid Elle Saving the Seas is now a YouTube series. I film everything myself. I edit and I animate everything myself. So it's so hard.
You do the
Then
animations.
I do.
That's wild.
I had help with just one of my own mermaid animation, but all the little characters and everything else that you see, um, I've been doing it myself, and so it's been a huge project. And now working on the book. So Saving the Seas has become more like um, a little empire of Mermaid Elle and inspiring kids. So, yeah, Saving the Seas is doing well. I feel like I'm shifting right now into being more focused on ocean conservation. I do a lot of different shows. So, like with my mermaid shows, I could be doing uh, Atlantis in the Bahamas or Formula One, at the Hard Rock Stadium. But I do feel like my passion is where Saving the Seas is. And I've been really trying to focus on it for the past year. I went on my YouTube channel, I went from 7,000 subscribers in March to almost a million now. I'm at like
Whoa.
992K. It's like,
That's incredible.
I'm gonna hit my million. And to me, that's like huge. And I hope that it continues to make waves and inspire humans all over the world. What I have coming up is so, so exciting. And I hope that it continues to grow.
Yeah, I absolutely love how you coming from like performing and studying screenwriting, so a whole different world pretty much, how that has prepared you to be where you are right now and how much of those skills actually are part of your job right now, which you wouldn't think at first if you just think, oh,
Yeah.
mermaid. But that's amazing
Yeah.
that you're really
Honestly, it's
creating
been
your
like
empire.
so many different ingredients that add up to this like formula that just works for me. So super, super exciting. And I love film. That's my second love because performing is my first one. And so being able to put those two together and create a magical world where kids can belong and see themselves and have a friend under the sea, because the bonding is so, so amazing to see how the little ones always come back to watching the videos, or if I have meet and greets, they are just always, their parents are bringing them to take another picture, or then it's just so amazing to see how many families just keep on coming back, how the kids remember me. And that happens with, I mean, pretty much my meet and greets and just everything that I do, and on social media too, to see how I have this pod of a friend. They definitely create that bond, and they feel like they have a friend under the sea, which is totally magical. If I were a little one, if I were a kid right now, and I would meet a mermaid like Mermaid Elle, I would totally be like mind blown. So I understand the weight that it holds with this magical experience.
I'm totally thinking of my little sister right now. I think all little girls are going through a phase. I don't know if I went through this phase or what, where everything is mermaid. Your journal, your sheets, your pillow case, everything is mermaid.
Yeah.
So I can imagine the power you hold when you're in your mermaid form over
Yeah.
over these little people's minds. Has there ever been a particularly heartwarming moment that made you, inspired you, or something with a
Oh my
kid?
gosh, so many. So many other interactions that are just so sweet. I've had boys, because I feel like boys are not always allowed to like mermaids, because they should like maybe some other things. And um I have this little one that is obsessed with Mermaid Elle, and his parents are so supportive with his love for Mermaid Elle. And I have this little girl that I traveled with. I think that video is still going and reaching so many people, because I was a part of this influencer group, and there was a little girl that was traveling with us the entire time. I'm doing content as a mermaid, and I had to come out, and be a human, not, and show her that I'm a human. So that was really hard for me um to continue being character, but like without any mermaid stuff, and for an entire week. And this little girl totally, she's Kashi from Rowley Adventures. She's like very well known for being like a little girl snowboarder. She's like super cool. Anyway, she totally, like, we're Mermaid Elle and her are best friends. And so she was able to believe in Mermaid Elle up until the end of that trip. There's something I always say to the kiddos when I'm performing. I always say, next time you go to the beach, next time you go to the beach, pick up any trash that you see. And you can stand by the shore and yell, Mermaid Elle, I miss you. And I will hear it no matter where I am. And so the kids are just like, their eyes light up. And I have the parents, like maybe a week later, like we went to the beach and she literally sat by the shore, or like stood by the shore calling out your name, because she knew that you would hear her. And so, yeah, I have a lot of these connections.
I hope this is not too personal, but what is the relationship between your little one and Mermaid Elle? Because obviously you're a mermaid, you're the mom. You can't say it, you're not in character all the time. Obviously, you're a mama.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's 12 now, but...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but he saw this all the way from 7 years ago. So he is very supportive of me in a business way. It's kind of weird. Like, he gives me advice on like, hey mom, you should do this, or you should say this, or what if you like did this for your YouTube channel. Like, kids his age are like always on YouTube, so he has inspired so much of my work. And I've done interviews for, I think, Allure, Hooked on the Look, and he's been interviewed in these videos. He was on Hooked on the Look, where they interview him, and they're like asking him questions like, what do you think about your mom being a mermaid? And he just, I had no idea he would answer so professional. He's like, I think it's wonderful. I think my mom's tails are vibrant, and he's like so sweet and like smart. Like, all the comments are like, oh my gosh, her kid is so smart. So he's on there, and he's on the Allure episode when he was little. But yeah, he's been just such an inspiration, because he's very funny. And so Mermaid Elle is also, she's cute, she's ditzy, she's funny, but she's also a badass. I don't know if I could say that, but she's brave. So I feel like maybe my character has a lot to do with who he is as a person, and he has inspired that. So I'm gonna cry.
Aww,
Hearts for it, honestly.
He's wonderful. He's so fun and sweet. So I feel like it's been a lot of inspiration being a mom.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing all of these.
I cry all the time,
journeys.
guys. Like every interview.
Aww.
It must be because it's so emotionally and so like in depth and like wholesome. It's hard to not, feel like there's magic in the air. So, yeah.
I totally know what you mean. Yesterday we were talking about killer whales. It sounds like I'm comparing this to killer whales, which I'm not, but we were talking about the motherhood experience. And I'm not a mother, but I love my mom and respect mothers and just love women. And I actually started tearing up thinking about the strife that killer whales go through. So I relate because, I don't know, I do feel like with the ocean, there is this like emotional, spiritual element in the air.
Yeah, no,
So
definitely. I feel there's so much spiritual energy in our oceans. And when you're down there, when you get to know these creatures and you get to learn, they're so smart. They're so beautiful inside and out. The relationships that they build, the whales, the dolphins, the octopus, so many beautiful interactions and in harmony with nature. And I think that if we paid attention a little bit more to our oceans, we would learn a lot. It teaches us so much. I've always said that because I teach Patty Mermaid courses I teach instructors like how to teach the mermaid program through Patty. Um, and I always say that, like ocean is always a teacher, it's just like life. It goes up, it goes down, it's stormy, it's calm, it's there's depth to it. And it's just a huge inspiration. I'm very spiritual too, so like, and I'm a yogi, so like I definitely feel that connection with nature, and most importantly our oceans, because they are so, I mean, powerful. Our oceans are so powerful, and to see these magnificent creatures hurting, or this so incredible ecosystem hurting, it's like, what are we doing, guys? This is what we should be talking about. So I'm so glad that I'm here and that we're having this conversation, because it's so, so important. Not many people have, like, on their daily lives, have this conversation, and I love bringing it up any chance I get. I'm like, oh, you're talking about, I don't know, the next party. I'm like, let's talk about sharks. Let's talk about like, I saw a video the other day, like, are you the person that brings up sharks in every conversation? I'm like, yeah.
Where did you learn all those things about the ocean? Because as we already talked about, you did not study it, but you have so much knowledge about the ocean. You're teaching about the ocean. Did you just read and educate yourself all day long? Like, that's just one more thing on your plate of all the little octopus arms that are active. Like, how did you get all the knowledge that you have?
I did a marine ecology course. It's it helped me so much. It was through SSI. Like, they have these like different courses for divers, and I'm a diver. Like, that's what I do. If you ask me what I do for fun, I go diving. Like, I leave my phone at home and I just go diving with my boyfriend or my friends. So I'm always in the ocean. I feel like having that field experience is so important, but also having the online education is so important too. That's why I was like, there's so much education out there of our oceans for adults, for divers, for scientists, there's not a lot for kids. So that's why I went that route. But yeah, I'm a nerd. I like to learn things. I like to sit and learn things. So yeah, the ocean is a huge topic with my work. So I feel like it comes easy to, bring that conversation over oceans and the creatures. I have so many friends that are biologists. I always run it through them, like, hey, can you read my script and make sure that it's correct? So it's important to me that that whatever I'm teaching is like up to date. Go. Like, I'm a conservationist because I feel like I'm an advocate for conservation. But yeah, I'd have to do a lot of research before I even create a script. So it's a fun part, though. I love it. This is what I want. I wanted to, at some point, have my series be on TV or have a film. I'm working on my book series. I feel like everything is possible right now.
Yeah, as little entrepreneurial-minded spirits over here, me and Sarah, I think this story is so important to share. It's such a good ocean story because it has the elements of persistence. It was kind of a surprise in your life, like you didn't originally start out doing this. And what I really love about it is it highlights that no matter your interests, you might have studied film, you might have studied biology, what have you, there's a way to sort of have a fulfilling career that has such a positive impact on others. What I always hear from people is, I want to do my part for the environment. I want to do my part for what have you, but I can't because I'm a software developer, or I can't because I studied finance. Yeah. But there are so many creative opportunities. Sometimes they take a lot of work and perseverance. You might have to take an extra course or two. But there's ways, and it's really a wonderful story to hear about. So I'm taking notes over here. The future is bright for Mermaid Elle.
No, yeah, and I think for any entrepreneur, like I love being a business owner. There's just something about creating and just being a creative and making money out of that that is like such a blessing, such a gift. And it's all achievable. It's not, obviously, there's like steps and little steps and big steps along the way to pave your way to where you are aiming. But I feel like in this world and in this country, we can do anything. I say that because I consider myself like foreign, even though I grew up in Puerto Rico, it's part of the United States, but I do know the difference of being able to take advantage of your opportunities, of your resources, so many resources, and to understand that, again, if I can be a mermaid, anybody could be anything they want. Unless you want to be a unicorn, I think that would be harder.
I have one more random logistic question.
Mhm.
First of all, there's two actually. How do you travel with your mermaid tails?
It depends. If it's a really short trip, then I'll check the bag. If it's a layover, I usually just take my traveling tails. So I have like traveling tails that are more like fabric or scuba knit, like neoprene.
Mhm.
So I'll take those with me to travel the most, I think. But if I have to travel with my silicone tail, it just doesn't fit on a carry on. So it has to be checked.
The person that scanned the bags was probably like, "What am I looking at?" Just
I
like
had a oh my
mermaid
gosh,
tails.
I have a funny story. So I do the LED Mermaid show at Orlando World Center, and I was traveling, so I had to fly there from wherever I was. It was like super last minute, a long time ago. And so I flew with my LED mermaid tail, which is like all wires, lights, and it's just like you see the thing and it's like, what is this? It looks so weird and technological. And I went to Disney Springs because I was like, I have time before my flight, so let me just like, it's just a suitcase. So, and it's smaller. The LED mermaid tail is like way smaller than a silicone tail. So I had to go through security and I had to explain to them. They opened the bag and they were like, "Ma'am, what is in this bag? You can't go into Disney with this." So I was like, "Oh, it's just a mermaid tail." And they're like, "Ma'am, you cannot dress up like a mermaid inside Disney." And I'm like, "No, you're not understanding me." It was like such a weird, like, I had to explain to them, like, "Listen, I'm a performer. I worked at the Orlando World Center, just like down the street. This is just lights, like nothing weird," because they're super, super um, particular about the security there at Disney. So yeah, it was really, really funny. Like, and I'm sure at TSA somebody has opened my bag to check, and it's like, what in the world? Um, when I travel and I'm at immigration and they ask me, "What was your reason for traveling?" I'm like, I mean, I have to tell them the truth because you have to say, like, "I'm here because I'm a performer." "Okay, what do you do?" And I'm like, "I'm a mermaid performer." Like, they're like,
I'm a
"No
mermaid.
way." I was like, here's the video. And they're like, "Oh my God." And they're following me on Instagram. People on immigration at the airport. So it's really, really funny.
That is so funny. Well, I have one more question. So when you perform, you just said you perform at huge events like the Formula One. Are there tanks there? Like are there water tanks? How does that work? Or do you have a pool or are you just sometimes a mermaid on land?
Yeah, it depends. Like I do mermaid on land. I do
Okay.
mermaid swimming shows. Like that's different type of act. So mermaid on land is more like a meet and greet, photo op. If I do a swimming show, then it's more like aquatic, like swimming tricks and things like that. If I'm in an aquarium, then it's like diving and eyes open, smile, 20 feet of depth. Just a window. It's just an underwater performance. So it's just so different. At Formula One, they have pools in front of the stage. So as a mermaid, I'm just swimming around. We saw the Jonas Brothers, we saw Tiesto performing on stage. I mean, like right in front. So sometimes you get perks, like I'm a mermaid. Formula One is my biggest client. And I'm also, seeing these free concerts. Great. So yeah, it's very different performances, but I would say I would narrow it down to those three. Meet and greets are like Land Mermaid, swimming shows like pool entertainment, and then underwater performances like at an aquarium.
Well, we have one question that we like to ask everyone that comes onto the show. What is your favorite memory of the ocean? It can be as a mermaid or not, up to you.
I would say swimming on swimming in my home island waters. That to me was is always going to be the most amazing experience. Puerto Rico has such a very healthy reefs, healthy marine life. It's just covered with so many things to see. I've seen so many things, turtles and sharks and pufferfish and eagle rays and dolphins. And I would say just swimming in my home island and my home waters is the best experience for me, spiritually, I think. And
Thank you.
I have one more thing to say. Mermaid kisses, starfish wishes. That's what Mermaid Elle says all the time. So,
Oh,
and if you go to the beach, just yell Mermaid Elle, Mermaid Elle.
I will.
I miss you, and I will hear it no matter where I am in the world.
Today, Sarah's
Oh,
gonna go
that warms my
surfing and
heart.
she's gonna be saying it.
I'll just be like screaming in the lineup, Mermaid Elle.
Yeah, and maybe I'll come by. Who knows?
If anyone would like to follow along with Mermaid Elle's journeys, she is everywhere. We will link her social media handles, her website, and all of that in the show notes. So feel free to follow along on her exciting journey. Thanks so much for listening, everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Ocean Stories. If you'd like to follow along on Instagram, you can find us at oceanstories_podcast for updates and behind the scenes.
We'll also be sharing our ocean adventures on YouTube at Ocean Stories Podcast. If you like this episode, please show your support by leaving a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.
Join us next Tuesday for more Ocean Stories.